Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Umi Amirah. Today I am with my partner Nisa. We want to talk about crime and punishment. Okay, for the information, we already know that crime had already increased year by year in our country, Malaysia, of course. From that situation, our government already find out so many ways to make sure they can solve this problem as soon as possible. At the same time, crime also give a big effect to our community because it is also can make our life did not stay in the safe. Nisa, can you give me what the meaning of crime? Did you know?
Thank you, Amira. Now, I will explain the meaning of a crime. What is a crime? A crime is an offense that merits community condemnation and punishment, usually by way of fine or imprisonment. This is different from a civil wrong, which is an action against an individual that requires compensation or restitution. Criminal offences are normally prosecuted by the state or the Commonwealth, whereas it is usually up to an individual to take a civil action to court. Is it also possible for an individual to begin criminal proceedings, but this is very rare. Some matters, such as assault, can be both crime and civil wrong at the same time. The police can prosecute for assault and the victim can take civil action to recover money or some other kind of compensation for any injury suffered. It is not always easy to tell when something is a crime. A person who takes money without permission commits a criminal offence, whereas a person who fails to pay back money commits a civil wrong, not a crime. Although a civil action can be common to recover the money, the borrower can only be prosecuted for a criminal offence if fraud is involved. What is involved in crime? Crime can involve violence, sex, or drugs, but also discrimination, road rage, undeclared work, and burglary. Crime is any behavior and any act, activity, or event that is punishable by law.
Okay, thank you Nisa for the explaining. Okay, now I want to give some example of crime that always happen in Malaysia. First of all, murder. Second, driver by killing. Third, drug trafficking and others. From that situation, our government already make a lot of punishment that's suitable for these cases to make sure the people who involving themselves from these cases get the suitable punishment, and at the same time they realize that the things that they do is really wrong and give a big effect to our country. Okay, now I want to introduce three example of punishment for the crime that happen in our country that provide from our government. First of all, jail time. Second, whipping for a certain hardcore crime. Third one is the big punishment, which is hanging law. This is the example of punishment that provide from our government to the people who involving themselves in the crime cases to make sure they realize, and at the same time give some moral to other people out there to make sure they realize the thing that us can do, which is can give a big effect to ourselves, at the same time give a big effect to our country.
Now, I will explain the trend and statistics of crime in Malaysia. According to the Annual Crime and Safety Report 2018, published by the Overseas Security Advisory Council or SAC under the United States Bureau of Diplomatic Security, Kuala Lumpur was listed as a high-threat location for crime. Crime is an issue of concern in the country and often finds the attention of the media. In a major effort to combat crimes, the Government Transformation Programme (GTP) introduced in 2010 listed reducing crime as one of the National Key Result Areas (NKRA), headed by the Ministry of Home Affairs. Its main objective was to tackle pressing issue of public safety and crime. This paper gives a brief descriptive overview of the trend and pattern of crime in Malaysia with an emphasis on Kuala Lumpur and Selangor between 2010 and 2017. Figure 1 shows the index, property and violent crime trend in Malaysia from 1918 to 2017. Property crime consists of 85% of the index crime in Malaysia. They show a more volatile pattern as compared to violent crime. The two peaks in the number of reported property crime cases are consistent with the periods of economic downturn in the country, namely the Asian and global financial crisis respectively. This shows a possible correlation between property crime and the economic situation in Malaysia. This pattern suggests that property crimes are largely income or money driven. Violent crimes, on other hand, are also dependent on other behavioral factors of the offender such as psychopathy, impulsivity, low self-control, and aggressive behavior. Figure 2 shows a general decline in the national index and property crime rates. The property crime rate decreased by 55% between 2010 and 2017, whereas the violent crime rate decreased by 45%. The decline in property crime rates, however, may be due to underreporting, which is one of the largest limitations in crime data all over the world. From Figure 3, the state with the highest average index crime rates per 100,000 of the population between 2010 and 2007 are Kuala Lumpur and Selangor respectively. 42 and 4% of the total crimes occur in the state of KL and Selangor. The index crime rate in Kuala Lumpur and Selangor are considered to be high as compared to Singapore, which had an index crime rate of 43 and 3 per 100,000 of the population in 2016. Classification of crime in Malaysia. The Royal Malaysian Police RMP uses the term index crime as a measure of the general crime situation in the country. Index crimes are defined as crimes are reported with sufficient regularity and with sufficient significance to be meaningful as an index to the crime situation. In other words, an index crime is a crime that is regular and common enough to be included in the index. Index crimes can be further divided into violence crime and property crimes. Violence crime constitute murder, rape, robbery with or without firearm, gang robbery with or without firearm, and causing voluntary harm or assault. Is it quite obvious that the rate of crime are increasing day by day in all societies in the world? But I personally do believe that there are a lot which can be done by both the government and the individual to reduce the crime in communities. First, government can introduce more police force everywhere to monitor pupil activities. The second one, the state can apply new technologies such as surveillance camera in the street, shopping centers, or any public places to increase criminal. Third, strict punishment on criminal can have really preventive and deterrent effect on all age groups in society. So by using harsh penalties like imprisonment, physical or financial punishment, the rate of crime can be decreased. To conclude, in order for a society to be a safe place to live in, all society members, including the government and people, must take necessary measurements to keep it a crime-free place. Thank you.
Traces of the crime are left in the environment. The location where a crime took place can be full of physical evidence, which can link the crime to the criminal and ultimately assist the police in their investigation. This location is known as the crime scene. Crime scenes can be anywhere, indoors, outdoors, at business premises, domestic dwellings, or vehicles, and no two are ever the same.